Hello, boys and girls. Hope everybody's doing okay. I obviously am not here today, but I have a fantastic substitute teacher who expects nothing but the best from Zamorano students. So as you work with your substitute today, please remember to follow the Zamorano way. Be respectful, be responsible, and be safe. You're trying to earn that green card up there, so if you do happen to finish your project early, you can earn center time. But that only happens if you're being respectful to your classmates, the supplies, and the student teacher. Gotcha? Cool. So today what you're going to be doing is a chalk pastel drawing with a little bit of oil pastel based on a quilt design that your substitute will talk to you about. So in a minute, I'm going to do a quick hands-on demo so you can see a couple of the really important parts of the project, and then the teacher can help you throughout the activity as well. She's also, or he is going to have questions for you about the quilt design that you're looking at. So pay close attention, have a great day, and I'll see you all next week. So here is the quilt design that you third graders will be looking at today. It's by Kathryn Upitis, and she's a Canadian quilt designer. And she actually based it on a landscape painting of a Canadian artist as well. So when you look at this, I want you to think about what parts of the picture of that quilt that you're looking at appear closer to you. All right, so think about, first of all, what it is you're looking at, and then what parts of it look like they are closest to you. And this is going to be the main point of today's lesson. You did something similar to it when we looked at Carol Wyatt's designs, and we did the cut paper layered project as well. All right, so think about what looks like it's in the front, what looks like it's in the middle, and what looks like it's in the back. All right, pay attention to color, pay attention to size. All right, so when you're using chalk pastels, one really important thing in order to keep your paper clean is that when you do the drawing and you're working like this, you don't want your hand to rest on the paper. The only thing that should touch the paper is the tip of the chalk itself. That's important, or the side of it. All right. If your hand starts to touch the paper, it's going to get things smeary and messy. So you just want to be careful of that as you work. When you're creating your landscape today, what you want to do first is select, I'd say, about 4 colors that you think would work well for a sky. And the colors are up to you. The only 2 colors I would not like you to use are black and white, right? And brown too. You don't really see that often in the sky. When you do this, what I'd like you to do is in about 4 parts, you are going to add color to the sky. And what I suggest you do is use the side of the chalk. I can work across like this. And my paper is a little smaller than yours, but you can see I'm not going to worry about it being filled in completely. All right, just like that. Then if I want to have another color, so you're basically creating stripes. Don't worry about blending one color into one another. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add another layer right in there. Right, easy peasy. And then I keep going. Maybe I want to see the other. So if you want to do a pattern, that's up to you. If you want to see more of one color in the sky, that's totally up to you as well. All right, I'm going to add, maybe I go back to the green down here at the bottom. And that's all. I want to save a little bit of room down at the bottom for the ground. So you can see how I left about maybe like an inch or 2. Once you do that, then using one finger only, your blending finger, I'd like you to go in and you're going to just softly kind of smooth out that color, because the sky doesn't look rough, right? It doesn't look rough. It looks smooth and sky-like. But the one thing I do want you to do is you want to eliminate any kind of stuff like that. So if I do need to overlap just a little bit, and notice I'm not scrubbing too hard. Right? You're also going to notice that I may get extra buildup of chalk on the paper. Please do not tap that on the table to get rid of it. So I'm going to work my way down. All right? We can hold the paper up And don't get rid of the chalk any other way. All right, so you can see how I'm just working my way down all the way. Like I said, if I want to blend just a little bit there, that's okay. All right, and then finally got this last layer. All right, and blend it in. All right, now when I get rid of the chalk, I'm going to pick the paper up completely, and I'm going to hold it vertically, turning either to my left or the right, and letting the chalk drop on the floor, and I could just gently blow it. You don't want to tap it on the table, you don't want to blow it across, because if you do, it gets on the back of your drawing, and then it gets on the front of somebody else's when I stack it together. If you would like at this point to go in and make a couple spots brighter, I can go back in maybe with that color. Maybe I want to see a little brighter yellow part right there as well, and I can do that, and then just gently, you know, blend that in a little bit too, and it's going to make those parts stand out a little bit more in your sky. Right? So I don't have to rub it as hard as I did that first time. Just kind of working my way in like that. And again, any kind of leftover dust, pick your paper up, let the chalk fall on the floor between you and your neighbor, and you go back to work. Then when you do the ground, pick a ground color that you'd like, something that you haven't already used, and you're not going to smooth that out. You're going to leave it kind of rough so it looks like ground and not sky. You want that contrast in there, right? So I've got something like that, and I'm just going to leave it be, right? Easy peasy. Once you're done with this part, you're done with your colored chalk, and you can put it back in the box where you got it from. I'm just going to soften that edge up a little bit so it looks smoother and blended. All right? Cool. Stay tuned for the oil pastel step. All right, so the next step. You're going to be using a different material. You're going to have purple, you're going to have blue, and you're going to have white oil pastels. All right? These are like greasy crayons, and they resist the chalk in an interesting way. You're going to feel it. The texture of it feels a lot different. And we're going to use the oil pastels to build the clouds. Now, remember, the stuff that's in the front of the picture is going to be big and bold. The stuff in the back is going to be small and light. And what you're going to do first is you're going to use your white, and you want to start adding clouds. And really, in the distance, they're just going to be like little minus signs. And you want to kind of work your way down at the bottom. You're going to see a lot of these. And as I go up in the picture, I'm going to start to make them bigger because they're getting closer to us. So you've got the middle. All right, and then I could see some, maybe they go off the paper in spots. And by the time I get up to the top, they're going to be the biggest yet. You may have one that goes almost across the paper, and you also want them to get taller as well. So you're talking about width, and you're talking about height for those cloud shapes. Now, when you do it, if you looked at the quilt design that we saw, they were pretty blocky. It's almost like they're Minecraft clouds. Nobody in here likes Minecraft, do they? Yeah, I didn't think so. But when you do it, so you can see I can, if I want to change the shapes a little bit, I can add a little bit more detail to them, kind of like in a blocky way. So they're a little bit different than clouds you would see in the sky, but that way it's similar to the quilt design a little bit. All right, so you can see how I'm kind of doing that. Right, just kind of changing them a little bit, giving them a little bit of variety. All right. Now, using you can see also that I press pretty hard so that it looks white. If you do something like this, it's not going to really be bold enough for this next part to work, right? Because what you're going to be doing is creating tints of the cloud colors. We're using the purple and the blue, or just one of them. What you can do is in the distance, you just very softly kind of add that color to it. All right, and as you get further and further, or shall I say closer and closer, you're going to be pressing harder with that, because as things get closer to you, they're going to get bolder and darker. Now, if you happen to go too hard, you can always go in and lighten it up with a little bit of white. All right, so you make the tint lighter. Or if I happen to press too hard there, I can take the white and I can add it to make it softer. Voila! Right? So if I want some of the clouds to be tints of purple, I can do that. Right? You don't want to have too few clouds in your sky, right? Especially down at the bottom. You're going to see more down here and less up here because they're bigger and they fill more of the space. Now, this is something that you don't see in the quilt, but if you want to, you can do this next step. Where if I want the cloud to look a little bit more 3D, I'm going to press a little harder at the bottom there so it looks like it's a shadow on the bottom. Right? Like I said, you don't necessarily have to do that, but it adds a layer of realism to it. And again, you can see how there's this oil pastel, the little fragments there. And again, what you want to do is pick it up, hold it vertically between you and your neighbor, and drop it on the floor. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Once you get to this point, you're done. You're going to put these oil pastels in the bin at the center table. And then you're going to be ready for your exit slip, ladies and gentlemen, which is going to have 3 questions that you're going to answer. Number 1, how did you make tints of colors in your landscape? Number 2, what is different about the front, the foreground of the picture, and the back? What changes between the front and the back? And number 3, how is your drawing of this sky landscape different than Kathryn's quilt landscape? I'd like you to answer those in complete sentences.